I'm Corey Russo, San Diego's only healthy aging specialist, and I want to welcome you to my kitchen. Today I want to talk about kitchen knives. Kitchen knives are any type of knife that is used in the preparation of food. Now, there are knives such as steak knives and butter knives which are used at the table but would be improper for the preparation of the food. What I have here is a standard butcher block which you can find in any department store or kitchen supply store, and what this has are the most commonly used knives. I have a few extra that I'll show you a little bit later, but I wanted to go through these first so you can see what the standard knives actually look like. And we'll start with the first knife, which is the paring knife. The paring knife has a very sharp but short blade and has a point. I use this one because it has the nice point. I can get into core strawberries, for example, when I'm preparing strawberries. The paring knife was used originally as a peeler. You could use it to peel the potatoes and apples and other fruits. Eventually, it was replaced by the potato peeler, which is specifically designed just for peeling fruits and vegetables, well, such as carrots and celery, as well as your potatoes and fruit. The next knife is the utility knife. And the utility knife is very similar to the paring knife. However, this knife, because of the longer blade, will let you get into larger pieces of fruit and larger vegetables such as squash and cucumbers and other large pieces of food. This is a fillet knife. A fillet knife has, as you can see, a very thin blade. It's also more flexible than your standard blades. And what a fillet knife is, think of it by its other name as a deboning knife. So what this allows you to do is to get in between the flesh and the bone of meat and chicken and remove the bones. And you can also use this when you're filleting or deboning a fish. I use this blade also with salmon because I can take a salmon fillet and I can use the blade at a shallow angle with a sawing motion and separate the skin from the flesh quite easily. Here's our slicer. It does exactly what its name implies. They come with either a rounded or a pointed tip, and it's used primarily to cut thin slices of roasted or smoked meats. Then we have our chef's knife. The chef's knife is probably the most used knife in the kitchen because it can be used in place of most of these knives. It has a much broader face as well as much longer blade. Is usually 10 to 12 inches long, and they can be used to cut and chop and slice fruits and vegetables, but can also, if you have garlic, the broad face is great for when if you want to crush before you mince your garlic. The last piece that comes standard in your butcher blocks is what's called a honing steel. A honing steel is used with a knife, and take the knife at a very shallow angle and draw it both sides across the honing blade. What that does is this does not sharpen, it hones. Honing is this nice thin sharp edge. When we use it a lot on our cutting surfaces, can bend that edge one way or the other and make the cutting surface much less efficient. By honing it, it straightens out those slight bends and allows us to keep our knives sharp and efficient, and the more sharp and efficient they are, the less likely we are to cut ourselves. Whenever you're honing or sharpening a blade, be sure to do that over by the kitchen sink. And the reason for that is whenever you're running pieces of steel against each other or against a sharpening stone, microscopic slivers of steel can come off of your blades, and what you want to do is be able to wash it easily, rinse it at the sink so that we don't get those microscopic filings in our skin, and especially not in the food that we're going to eat. Another blade is the cleaver, and the cleaver is used as a heavy-duty item that is primarily for separating the joints in meat. They tend to be very, very heavy with a thicker spine and a very broad face. You can use this in place of the chef's knife because with the broad face you can crush, but you can also use this to cut and slice. So if you can only afford one or the other, this would be a good choice. Finally, there are these serrated knives. This one has an offset handle for easier cutting. It has the sawtooth blade, and what the sawtooth blade does is it allows us to cut softer tissue. Now what I mean by that is it's not really designed like a wood saw for cutting wood, but this one I use, as you notice how flexible it is, I use this one for cutting bread. Bread being very soft tissue, when I want to cut a slice and not tear it, these very sharp serrated edges are perfect for that soft tissue. Now if you can only afford one knife, again, the cleaver is a very good one, or a very heavy-duty chef's knife. The chef's knife is the best utility knife for replacing almost all of these. Again, this one I use for coring strawberries, so that would be quite difficult to do with this. So it's best if you can have the full set. But if not, you can get most of what you need done with this knife. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen. I'm Corey Russo.